What is HTML? Within this video recording, our experts deal with the absolute rudiments of HTML. To receive you started, this write-up defines elements, attributes, and all of the different crucial terms you might possess heard. It additionally clarifies where these suit into HTML markup language. The hypertext markup language, HTML, is a markup language. HTML is actually the just language a web browser understands. Therefore, how to start? Compose the regulation within any kind of editor, notepad for instance. Save your file with an HTML expansion or even HTML. Then surf to that file within a web internet browser or double-click at the file. The hypertext markup language, or HTML, is actually the standard markup language for records created to be actually showed in a web internet browser. It can be actually aided through technologies such as cascading style sheets, CSS, and scripting foreign languages such as JavaScript. It is a markup language that informs web browsers exactly how to design the internet pages you go to. It can be actually as difficult or even as simple as the internet developer wants it to be actually. HTML is composed of a series of elements, which you use to enclose, wrap, or even mark up different components of content to bring in its look or function within a specific method. The enclosing tags may bring in satisfied into a link to attach to an additional web page, italicized sentences, and also so on. This is actually the essential layout of any type of HTML layout web page. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, and also it is the most extensively used language to write internet web pages. Hypertext recommends to the technique in which internet web pages, HTML records, are in fact linked with each other. Thus, the link offered on a web page is called hypertext. HTML is a markup language which suggests you utilize HTML to just mark up a message document along with tags that tell a web browser exactly how to framework it to display screen. HTML is one of the most major shows languages that are often accountable for operating the web. Having actually demand over HTML is actually an ensure that you will conveniently be able to develop your own web content, design easy websites, or create complex online applications within a personal sufficient manner. Web internet browsers receive HTML records coming from an internet web server or even coming from neighborhood storage and render the documents into multimedia internet pages. HTML defines the design of an internet web page semantically and originally consisted of hints for the appearance of the file. HTML, Hypertext Markup Language, is certainly not a programming language. Whatever you encode within your HTML, the HTML tags are generally required to begin the web page. So, it's better to keep in mind this layout. Tags and associates are often the basis of HTML. Tags are usually used to note up the begin of a HTML aspect, and they are actually usually enclosed within angle brackets. An instance of a tag is actually paragraph p tag. Most tags must be open p and shut /p in order to functionality. The design of a regular HTML web page. The less than doc type HTML declaration specifies that this file is actually a HTML5 document. The HTML aspect is actually the origin component of a HTML web page. The head aspect contains meta-relevant information about the HTML web page. The label element defines a title for the HTML page. The body aspect specifies the document's physical body, and is actually a container for all the noticeable components, such as headings, paragraphs, etc. The H1 greater than aspect defines a large heading. The P component defines a paragraph. Initially, HTML was created with the intent of defining the construct of papers like headings, paragraphs, checklists, and thus on to facilitate the discussing of scientific information between researchers. Right now, HTML is actually being commonly utilized to format internet pages along with the aid of various tags accessible in HTML language. HTML serves as the general blocks on which the whole internet stands up. Any person possesses the power to discover this easy regulation and make simple our experts' web pages. HTML is recognized for its own ease of learning. It offers a satisfying experience for those that desire to play with codes. HTML aspects are actually the building shuts out of HTML pages. Along with HTML constructs, pictures and also other objects such as interactive constitutes might be actually ingrained into the provided web page. HTML supplies and implies to create structured papers through denoting structural semantics for text such as headings, paragraphs, lists, web links and other items. HTML elements are actually marked through tags, composed making use of slant brackets. Tags such as in, greater than and input, greater than directly offer satisfied into the page. Additional tags such as p-neighbor and supply info about paper text and might consist of some others tags as sub-elements. Web browsers do not screen the HTML tags, however use them to translate the content of the page. What are actually HTML associates/components? Connects include additional items of information. Associates get the kind of an opening up tag and additional info is actually placed inside. A HTML component is actually determined through a start tag, some content, and also an end tag. Some HTML elements possess no content, as if the BR aspect. These elements are contacted clear components. Clear components carry out certainly not possess an end tag. As told earlier, HTML is a markup foreign language and creates utilize of several tags to style the material. These tags are generally confined within slant braces tag name. Other than couple of tags, most of the tags have their equivalent closing tags. For instance, HTML possesses its own shutting tag /HTML and body tag has its closing tag /body tag and so on. Has been discussed and officially ratified by the W3C members, it becomes a recommendation. This video covers the basics of CSS to help you get started with this powerful styling language. You will learn how to apply CSS to HTML documents. Either as inline styles using style attributes, embedded styles in a style element in the document head, or as external files in their own documents. CSS, cascading style sheets. CSS cannot be used alone, it must work together with HTML or XML to decorate HTML or XML. Cascading means that multiple styles can be applied to the same HTML element and take effect at the same time. Content is in HTML files. Formatting information, how to display it, is in separate style sheets, .css files. Use an element attribute named class to link, for example span class equals test greater than. Now how to add CSS to our document? Create a file in the same folder as your HTML document and save it as styles.css. The CSS extension shows that this is a CSS file. To link styles.css to index.html add use link HTML tag inside the head of the HTML document. If you don't know the HTML tag link, I have separate video for this. You can check HTML tags playlist in the description of the video. This link element tells the browser that we have a style sheet, using the rel attribute, and the location of that style sheet as the value of the href attribute. You can test that the CSS works by adding a rule to styles.css. Save your HTML and CSS files and reload the page in a web browser. CSS versions. Cascading style sheets level 1. CSS1 came out of W3C as a recommendation in December 1996. This version describes the CSS language as well as a simple visual formatting model for all the HTML tags. CSS2 became a W3C recommendation in May 1998 and builds on CSS1. This version adds support for media-specific style sheets, for example, printers and oral devices, downloadable fonts, element positioning and tables. CSS is not a markup language like HTML, nor is it a procedural programming language like JavaScript. It is a declarative language that uses its own logic to identify and locate the page elements to which its style rules should be applied. Older technologies that defined interfaces before modern web development came along always mixed presentation and structure. As we've discussed in other tutorials, this is not a wise choice in an environment that changes as often as the web, which is why CSS was invented. The most important goal of CSS is to separate the content of a file from its display. Before the advent of CSS, almost all HTML files contain the information displayed by the file, such as the color of the font, what the background should be, how to arrange, edges, connections, etc., must be listed in the HTML file 1 by 1, sometimes repeat listing. CSS allows authors to isolate most of this information, simplifying the HTML file, and this information is placed in an auxiliary file written in CSS language. HTML files only contain structure and content information, and CSS files only contain style information. When we look at a well-marked up HTML document, even something as simple as our example, we can see how the browser is making the HTML readable by adding some default styling. Headings are large and bold and are listed as bullets. This happens because browsers have internal style sheets containing default styles, which they apply to all pages by default. Without them, all of the text would run together in a clump and we would have to style everything from scratch. All modern browsers display HTML content by default in pretty much the same way. Some style rules. The selector identifies which HTML elements are affected by the rule, using actual element names such as body, or other identifiers such as class attribute values. When applied to the element names, selector is simply replaced by the name of that block. For classes, the syntax is class name, for IDs, #idname. The braces contain the property value pairs, which are separated from each other by semicolons. The properties are separated from their respective values by colons. The properties define what you want to do to the selected elements. These can affect attributes such as text color, background color, the position of the element on the page, font type, border color and thickness, and many other appearance and layout characteristics. Content. They don't demand special preparation or compilation to run. Within this facet, JavaScript is actually exact different from an additional foreign language phone Java. When JavaScript was actually developed, it at first possessed an additional call, LiveScript. Yet Java was actually popular at that opportunity. So it was decided that placing a brand new language as a younger brother of Java would assist. However, as it developed, JavaScript became a fully independent language with its own specification, gotten in touch with ECMAScript, and now it possesses zero relationship to Java at all. Today, JavaScript can implement certainly not just in the browser, but additionally on the web server, or even in fact on any device that possesses a special plan called the JavaScript engine. The Internet browser possesses an ingrained engine often phoned a JavaScript virtual machine. The Internet browser possesses an ingrained engine often phoned a JavaScript virtual machine. It's helpful to start along with an introduction of the language's background. JavaScript was actually developed within 1995 by Brendan Eich while he was an engineer at Netscape. JavaScript was actually initially launched with Netscape too early in 1996. It was initially going to be gotten in touch with LiveScript, yet it was actually renamed within an ill-fated advertising decision that attempted to exploit on the popularity of Sun Microsystem's Java foreign language, despite the two having exact little bit within typical. This possesses been actually a source of complication ever considering that. Unlike very most programming foreign languages, the JavaScript language has absolutely no idea of input or outcome. It is developed to run as a scripting language within an organized environment, and also it is actually up to the organized setting to deliver devices for connecting with the outdoors globe. JavaScript is actually a multi-paradigm, vibrant foreign language along with kinds and drivers, standard built-in objects, and also techniques. Its syntax is actually located on the Java and C languages. Numerous structures from those foreign languages apply to JavaScript as effectively. JavaScript assistance is object-oriented programming along with object prototypes. Instead of courses, view more regarding prototypical inheritance and also ES 2015 courses. JavaScript additionally assistance is useful shows, because they are often things, functions might be actually stashed within variables and also passed all around as if any kind of additional things. JavaScript is a program's foreign language that is actually high degree. It supplies abstractions that enable you to overlook the details of the device where it's operating on. It manages memory instantly along with a garbage collector, so you can emphasis on the regulation, rather of handling memory as if additional languages like C would necessity, and delivers several constructs which permit you to package along with strongly effective variables and items. Vibrant. Resisted to static shows languages. A vibrant language executes at runtime numerous of the factors that a static foreign language does at compile opportunity. This possesses pros and also disadvantages, and also it offers us powerful functions such as vibrant typing, late binding, reflection, useful shows, things runtime alteration, closures and considerably much more. JavaScript is an open source and also very most popular client-side scripting language sustained through all of Internet browsers. JavaScript is actually mostly utilized for boosting the communication of the website along with consumers through making it a lot more vibrant and active. It is also used for activity advancement and also mobile phone. JavaScript has become quite a powerful foreign language over the years, and along with great deals of structures available, you may will pretty a lot just about anything you can believe of. You may even today make use of JavaScript for your backend using Node.js, create iOS and Android apps making use of structures as if React Native, and construct cross-platform desktop applications using structures as if Electron.